Now what I'm going to try to show on this little short video, we have this Kawasaki H1 tank which belongs to Luciano, of course. We have two of them. We have one that let's just put it this way. We tried to use up these, this would have already been a big giant vinyl sticker. Didn't work out the way we wanted, to say the least. But we got the tank all repaired. It looks brand new. I personally like this color green a lot better than this, which looks like army green or what, I don't know what. But all in the eye of the beholder. But now this, what I'm going to try to show is, I want to transpose this exact shape accurately onto this tank. Now a lot of people that have never seen how to do that, I'm going to try to show the way we would normally do it in model aviation, which is kind of a cut and dry thing. Might bore some people. A lot of my stuff bores people. What do you mean everything I do? I can hear Karen in the background now. Anyway, to get this shape and to transpose it that it's not too far forward, too far down, up, crooked, I started with just a couple of sheets of office paper taped together. In model aviation, I used on my videos, and by the way, on my videos, my channel for the airplanes now has, I think Paul did it, he segregated out all the model train videos into a Wendy Ertnowski Trains is the title, and all the train videos are there for if you like looking at model trains. I like looking at everything. I can't stand regular television, to be honest. I'd rather watch Jay Leno's Garage. I'd rather have Jay Leno's money. Anyway, what I start with a pattern that obviously just roughed out. It doesn't matter how accurate, because what the purpose of this is twofold. Number one, when we paint this tank, we're going to have to take the paint off, do the body work. This is all dented up. And I want to be able to put that stripe back on. Well, I don't want the stripe like that. I don't want it like that. I don't want it too far forward. I want to capture as much of the look as I can. Now what I did, and it's really relatively simple, except for a lot of people it might be interesting to know how to go about doing this. I made the piece a little bit smaller than it has to be. Now what I do is I make a second piece. I go over here and I say, well, I know it's 1/8 of an inch too big here, 1/8 of an inch here, here, and I put dots on the blank paper. Then taking a 4-foot ruler, I know, for instance, the bottom edge is straight, top edge is straight, it's 1/8 of an inch bigger. It's kind of easy, it's called interpolation, so I can see where this pattern is wrong. It's very easy to make it just a little bit bigger. That's step one. Real easy, right? Well, at the end of it, you have step two. Step two is the part that has these edges straight, this curve, and it's not round. It's not the shape of a round. It's got a little bit of an egg shape to it. I spent a lot of time trying to get that right. Keep in mind, Luciano is one of my biggest clients, and to please him, unbelievable. Unbelievable how fussy he is about this stuff. I mean, it's got to be so accurate and so right. So now, because this is flat and this isn't, I have to cut it. And I can tape that right in place. Step two, cut a bunch of little holes in the inside. There's a reason. Why not cut hole? Why not just do this? You're probably thinking, well, no good, because we're going to lay tape around the edge of this. The purpose of this is just to make sure it's accurate. And I'll explain why in a minute. I have these little pieces that I've been using. This allows me to figure out, it's basic model aviation. What you would do is make this piece for one wing, flip it to make the piece for the other wing. Now, because we want to make two tanks exactly the same, we're going to use this pattern 4 times. So the best way, if we had all the choices, if in the very beginning we had never used those crappy vinyl stickers, the easiest way to do the job like this would have been to paint this side of the tank white. Actually paint the whole tank white, so it's just no big deal to do it. Then mask off this stripe. The theory is you always mask off the smallest amount of paint first, because now you don't have to back mask over and over again. because we didn't do that, we're going to take this piece when we go to the other tank. And you can see what I've done. I've measured to the front, it's 3 1/4. I've measured to the bottom, 3 inches. And in the back, it's 2 inches. So I know, for instance, this isn't parallel to the bottom of the tank. If I were to do that, what would happen? The final look of the thing would be wrong. So working off measurements off the original, it's nice that we have this original tank. Working off these measurements is going to allow me to get this relatively accurate. Now, step 2 is, step 22, 62, whatever. I need to know that I've got this exactly in position where I'm going to be happy with it. It doesn't have to lay flat. It's real easy to understand why. Because once we get it in place, I'll do the measurement, and I can move the tape on the real tank. But making up a pattern, whether you call this making paper dolls or you're making paper confetti or making out with your girlfriend, I don't know. Beside the point. The point is, I've used this on literally hundreds of paint jobs. It's worked accurately, because what it's going to allow me to do, I'm going to have to take the tape off. In fact, let me show this right now. Once you take the tape off, I'm going to want to do the other side of the tank. Now, the only problem is, in the past, and I bet any money Kawasaki does this, for a simple reason. They tape it up to here, end the tape, and then put a last piece around the back. We originally thought this was a decal. Well, it's not a decal. This is definitely painted on. I've sanded through in the back. It definitely is. But now, the reason you have to take this little piece of tape off, all these little pieces, and it's not a big deal to do this, but once you see how to do this, you can even upgrade and come up with a better method. But this way has allowed me to fill up my whole attic with trophies and whatever. Allowed me to stay younger than I normally would be if I didn't do this, if I just went to the circus or whatever people do when they don't rebuild model planes or trains or motorcycles, or I guess you could just become a drunk. That always works too. Anyway, the beautiful part of this now, I have the measurements on there. I'll transpose them. I don't even have to with an ink marker. I can see is when I flip this tank over. Once I get it in place, I double check all the measurements. A lot of times when I've done this, I've noticed that the measurement on this side is 2 1/4, meaning maybe they didn't do it at the factory as accurately as you think. But anyway, you have what Dave Midgley would call a mirror image. So that should allow us, once we're done and the tape ends here, I can connect this down, connect that, and connect that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back mask everything from the white in. But I'm going to also have, maybe I'll make a separate little video about the back masking, because otherwise this is going to go on forever. And I know people like Glenn just get bored watching this stuff. But I can see the original motorcycle has a green stripe, a dark green, then a black. I'm not going to put the black in there. I think it'll look nicer with the white stripe, because that green is such a beautiful, vibrant green. And then the last little thing that I think is going to really look nice, this color here is I don't know what it is. It's like Kawasaki green without sparkle in it. Well, we're going to use the paint that I have, and if I don't have enough, Luciano, get ready to go pop for a $40 can of paint. Because I want this to match my green bike, and what'll obviously be when Glenn does his track bike over the winter. We're kind of using this color a lot. Actually, I should have bought a quart, but that's a lesson to be learned there, by the way. And I'm glad we bought a quart of the dark green, or we would have been screwed the pooch there. So what that allows you to do, now that I have this pattern, I can put this tank, and nice to have that tank. I can bring this tank over, and I can just very, very carefully, I only need to do this by eye for right now, because I'll be able to move it very conveniently. Get out my little ruler, which I probably took a walk here. Oh, here it is. Just roughly get this 2 inches from the bottom. Let me just see. It's got to go up. You can see pretty much how easy that is to do. Once that's in position, here's a good trick. Mark it, because as we move it forward, I'm going to lose my back. This has to be 3 inches to the bottom. Wow, right on the money. And from the front, 3 1/4. So it's got to go back. Now see, because I have that, I don't want to lose these 2 dimensions. Are pretty good. So I can just, like surveying property here. And what this will allow us to do is replicate it on the other side, of course, just as good, just as well. I'm lining up the bottom, lining up the bottom. Just see how close I am to 3 1/4. Straight out the front, 1, 2. Doesn't get a lot worse than that. That's pretty close. So now I can take, if I need to, I want to, whatever, I can just put all of these little tape-o-matics back in place. You really don't need this many. I just did this for demonstration purposes only. I know I've got that pretty close. So what I'm going to do, and I found this out, another good trick. The blue tape seems to be working great for us. I want to take 1/8 inch tape and just build that border around there. The reason is I want to be able to move it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth if I can. So let me just make sure I have it. I have it. I have it. I can pull this off. Pull this off. See, it's always good if you lay a paint job out. There's always easy ways to do it, and then there's the way where you have to do 10 times the amount of backmasking. Now, because we had that issue with the vinyl stickers, we've made ourselves a little bit more work than we really needed to. But again, hey, it's for Luciano, you know, what the heck. Now what I'll do is just lay this out randomly. I don't have to be real accurate right now because I'll check all the dimensions against the drawing. And this is just going to be the outline of the white. Oh, Chip Foose would be jealous. And if you've laid out as many model airplanes as I have, you know you'd never get started with this. It's always about 2 tape offs into something that you get comfortable with it. Now, it's pretty cut and dry. We got to take all the little pieces off. And I can, from now, I can measure off of my pattern. I can take these little pieces because when I do the other side, these pieces are going to be on the other side. No point doing it on camera. We're just gonna bore Glenn to death. I'm not sure he's not bored yet. But anyway, I wanted to show how you can, now if this were a custom piece, let's say like my RD, you can make a pattern for what your custom is. You can make any number of things. You can flip it. It's unlimited what you can do, but just by making these patterns, using this method, the usual stuff we always use, tape, scissors, whatever, that has allowed me to get a pretty good replication. I'll bet Chip Foose would be impressed with that. And needless to say, we're going to back mask from here out. I'll make part of that out of another video, I think. We need to lay out the white stripe first, but I also need to lay out the green stripe inside the white stripe. And I'll show that on a separate video, because first I'll do this, flip this over to the other side, and Glenn, I'm sorry if you're bored, baby.